Thank you for coming over to the Homeless Left. We're all homeless together. One I just want to show you a clip of was Truthwire. So Fiorella and Craig Pasta were able to have their show happen at the same time. I was able to check in from the ground at the Eaton Fires, which happened yesterday. Let's check out a little clip. They just shared it out on Truthwire. You guys can see the damage right behind me as we're trying to make sense of what is exactly happening here, just economically. What is happening to the people? How are the banks coming in and getting rid and making all this something that is very, very troubling right now to see the upward transfer of wealth, which is literally just about to happen. We're going to watch this in real time. This is me checking in with Fee and Pasta yesterday from the Eaton Fire site in the zone. Here we go.
I think you have this situation here where the property is actually even more valuable than in Lahaina. You have the owners of these properties. They're in a position where they're going to take these deals from the banks. Why? Because the insurance already dropped them. State Farm has already dropped fire insurance off a lot of people here, and that happened months ago. So, like you said, Fee, I mean, we can get suspicious and we can say, well, was this done on purpose? We don't even have to ask that question. We could just say somebody knew this was going to come. How do you explain the insurance companies dropping everyone just months before this? It sets people in a situation where they're desperate and they're going to take that offer. The bank's going to call them and say, hey, sorry what happened. We're really sorry what happened to you. Listen, we want to take this off your shoulders. Here's a 10% offer your property. You can just walk away, take the check. A lot of people here are going to do that. A lot more, I suspect. Yeah. Then would do it in Lahaina, because in Lahaina you had a lot more people willing to take that make that sacrifice for their their family's tradition, the natives there. They were willing to tough it out more. I bet it's gonna be a lot easier to get this property off people here. Just take the check and run. So that's where they're at. They have no other option. So yes, that's exactly right. The banks will buy it up. BlackRock, they're all ready to do this. It's gonna happen pretty fast, is my guess.
Yeah, those are the conversations we're having now. We're not going to wait till later when it's more convenient. We're doing it right now. So we do appreciate the courage of Truthwire, Craig Pasta, Fiorella. We have, I mentioned Kit Cabell, willing to have these conversations now. This is no joke, guys. We're not going to fall for this stuff that we've already gone through. We've gone through this waiting game of Lahaina, this waiting game in North Carolina. We're not waiting. This is hitting home now, and we're asking the questions that need to be asked. And you can call all the names you want. You can talk about conspiracy theorists, this and that. You know what? That doesn't work on us anymore. You're not a conspiracy theorist to ask a question. We were taught in school there are no bad questions. Well, apparently there seems to be. If you challenge the state narrative, you challenge the propaganda thrown into your face. There's a lot we need to get into this. We're going to be discussing this more with our guests coming up, with Jay Scott, with Stephanie Pierucci later on the show. We're going to get to all of these issues. But just to be clear here, this damage is insane. This is not done. The fires are still burning as we speak right now. Let's see some of the effects that we can tell already. We know, according to Zello, we know that the housing rental increase has already occurred in the last 48 hours. The estimate is 15% hike has happened in the last 48 hours. That means that you have LA, which already was one of the top places to people that can't afford rent already. It's already was skyrocketed before this event. We're already at now 15% increase on top of that. We know that Newsom has been changing the zoning laws. He was working on that for a while. It looks like it just went through yesterday. So he's been able to change the zoning laws. He was meeting with these developers, and they were able to kind of push the law through, and their lawyers, they got the paperwork to change the single family unit to apartments. So if they're going to be rebuilding family homes, that's not even an option now in a lot of these areas, because they're going to have the banks buy them up and build these large condos and apartments, and you're only going to be allowed to rent. But how are you even going to afford that if the rent was already expensive, and now we're saying already a 15% increase, and that's only going to get worse as we go. Now, look, we know there's a lot of red flags here, guys. There's a lot of red flags from the insurance being dropped. We know that the water was not available for whatever reason. I'm hearing a lot of people battling about that. Oh, whether Newsom was his fault or whatever. Oh, Trump's being mean. There's so many issues there. But let's talk about on the ground, because there's one more. I got to get a shout out to Leslie, who checked into us from the evacuation center in Pasadena. So we know it was going on out there. That was in Eaton as well. That was the day before I did the interview with Fee and Pasa, but she was the first one to check it out from the homeless left, and she was able to see there's two things going on. On one hand, you have people that on the ground, residents of LA, that are showing up in droves to help people. That's the good news. You're bringing supplies, tending to these stray animals, people that need help, any sort of help. They showed up. As far as the leadership, they failed us, and that was absolutely clear. The other thing is of note, and no one else is covering this part. Palisades is the bigger fire. Eaton is also a big fire. Those are the two that are left of the 8 fires. Those are the 2 big ones that are left that are not contained at all. But for some reason, Palisades over Malibu, with all the rich, Hollywood elite people with all their, investments and, their high profile people that are tied with the media as well, because the media is tied with Hollywood here. That's where all the focus is. They don't talk about what's going on in Eaton as much. We don't get to see the Pasadena area too much light shine on the people that have lost their homes, people that aren't in the entertainment industry, people that aren't worthy of a headline of whether, whose house whether it was Tom Hanks or whether it was whoever lost their house, or who in Malibu right now, who's actually still evacuated, or their houses, they can't even come and go right now. But guess what? Eaton is just as bad in that regard. We did go over to the Westwood Center this morning, and I was able to cover that with TRT, with one of our correspondents out there. And I was able to find out that there is also a problem in the evacuation centers, at least in Westwood. I don't think so much in Pasadena, but in Westwood, these families that are coming in are very, they're very cluttered together. There's no real organization of them, so they're dealing with a lot of trauma right now. It's a massive problem right now for the families that are in these shelters, along with a lot of homeless people too. And so that's the other problem, is that you have homeless already in LA, already in Southern California. So they're also going to the evacuation centers. So you're gonna line up all these beds with these families that just lost everything, and right next to them is somebody with either drug problem, mental health issue, homeless person. There's no way to organize this stuff. So this is very dangerous, it's very confusing, very shocking time for people here. I literally just came from there in Westwood, and it was surreal, to say the least, what's going on over there. So it doesn't look like there's any real good way to handle this, other than more and more people just need to be willing to help. And we saw a lot of helpers out there as well. So a shout out to all the people that are rising up to help their fellow man, it's humanitarian instinct that they have to do that, while the powerful people are hoarding all the wealth, and they just want more power.